We're now joined by Dr. Charlane Brown-Wyands, who's professor of the Department of Justice Studies at Berkeley College, one of our higher ed partners. Doctor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Steve.
And thank you for your 26 years of service in the NYPD.
Thank you.
Put this in perspective. We've been doing so many programs around police reform, but from a variety of perspectives. We need to do more from the police perspective. What would you say, from your experience and your expertise academically and in the field, the current status, let me put it this way, is there a stigma of being a cop right now?
I would definitely say that there is a stigma of being a police officer. When you are in law enforcement, that is something that officers do carry with them, but with the heightened events that have happened in the past few years, that stigma has been almost exacerbated a bit. I can also relate back to an incident that happened with myself and a colleague during the Sean Bell shooting, which was years ago. And I was on the phone with a colleague, and while we were talking, we were both getting ready to prepare to manage a protest. We were both executives in the police department. And he stopped and said, "Someone just looked at me and scowled at me, and I don't recall the last time I've been looked at that way before." So those are the type of reactions that officers every day are subjected to, because officers represent the law. So they become the object of the attention, and that adds to any stigma that officers already have.
Doctor, how can we achieve a reasonable balance, a semblance of balance between police reform, which is long overdue, and supporting the men and women on the front lines in blue? Can we do that? And if so, how?
Well, I certainly think it can be achieved, but it is not an overnight process. I think, first of all, both groups have to really remember that we are one and we need each other to work together. That being said, I think police departments need to look inward and work on culture shift and changing the culture to meet the new needs and demands of communities. And communities need to also get together and express the realization that they do want officers. They
need officers. They need police in the community.
Yes, and police, and in times they're both saying the same things.
I shouldn't say they. We all need. Correct?
Correct. Communities need police, and police need cooperation of communities to help them solve crimes. So I think both groups need to internally do some work and then come together and acknowledge that that is what both sides want, and to figure out the best way to build together. And it becomes offering an olive branch on each side, and that long-standing trust building that has to happen.
Boy, that word trust. Let me ask you this. At Berkeley, what are you and your colleagues doing to confront these issues directly?
So for myself and all my colleagues, and many of the professionals at Berkeley College have worked in law enforcement. So we bring the stories, we bring the realities to our students in the classroom, and we have those frank conversations head on with the students. From my personal experience, many of the students that are in our classrooms, they feel the stigma against the police and they express it, but they also realize that we need police, and some of them still want to become police officers. So what we make sure that we do is that we really try to hit hard on what those feelings are, address those concerns with the students as we're teaching them the substantive issues and laws and policies that they need to know to become, to position themselves to become successful criminal justice professionals.
But before I let you go, and before we end this program, Doctor, acting like this isn't real, acting like we can sweep it under the rug of the history, the horrific killing of George Floyd, and with those other officers standing there as Derek Chauvin did what he did, and we all saw it. We can't act like it didn't happen. We need to understand it, put it in perspective. Of course, that's not most cops. Of course, that's the exception. but we can't act like it didn't happen. A few seconds, go ahead.
Correct. And it didn't happen. And everyone is going to walk around with that memory of what happened. And that's where change is going to start. Instead of painting the brush to try to act like it didn't happen, to acknowledge that it did happen and to work together from there to build those successful partnerships that community and policing need to continue to sustain and thrive and to evolve into our next century of policing and bring that reform and that reimagination that everyone is looking for.
And finally, from my perspective, it's not my job to editorialize, but that was the most graphic and one of the most recent of a whole range of incidents. But there are so many other cops who want to do the right thing, who do the right thing every day. But we need to have awkward, difficult, but incredibly important and real conversations. And that's what we're here for. And Doctor, I want to thank you so much for helping us.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's been a pleasure.
You got it. I'm Steve Adubato. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Valley Bank, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, the New Jersey Education Association, Summit Health, the Fidelco Group, PSC&G, Community Food Bank of New Jersey, and by the North Ward Center. Promotional support provided by New Jersey Globe and by New Jersey Monthly.
How do you create change? By cultivating hope. And we see that every day. In the eyes of our preschoolers, in the souls of the seniors in our Adult Day program, in the minds of the students at Robert Treat Academy, a national Blue Ribbon School of Excellence, in the passion of children in our Youth Leadership Development Program, in our commitment to connections at the Center for Autism, and in the heart of our community, the North Ward Center, creating opportunities for equity, education, and growth.